And welcome back, everybody, to Double Down with Breslo, where we cover everything in the world of this business of sports betting. And we got a great guest on today. He is one of the many people in the business of sports betting who went to West Point. People probably don't realize how many West Pointers are out there in the sports betting world, but this guy is just one of them. He'll tell us about all the others that are out there. Dan Kustelski, I pronounce it right?
That's right. Spot on,
okay.
Jim. Well done.
Polish name, spelt with an I, and I'll be in Poland in about a week or so, and I'll try to look up your lineage there. I'll be in Warsaw, by the way. Anyway, Dan Kustelski from Chalkline Sports. Dan is a West Point grad. We'll have to cover a little bit about how you went from West Point to Chalkline, but Chalkline is a company that's been around there for quite some time doing B2B in the sports betting industry, in helping a lot of these sports betting sites bring in players, because we all know that's one of their biggest challenges they're all competing with each other about is their cost of acquiring a player. And Dan's company has come up with a method to help them do that. Dan, thanks for coming on the program.
Sir. Thank you very much, Jim. I appreciate it, man.
All right. So we'll get to the West Point stuff, but let's just kind of start with walking people through what exactly Chalkline does.
Sure. So what Chalkline, and this goes back to my background. I was in Africa 20 years ago, started a sports book from scratch, online sports book, and then I sold it to a large land-based casino group.
Did you do that legally?
It was completely legal. I got licenses, the whole shebang. Yeah. And the challenge I think that I had was, when you make this, this transition, from online to land-based, how do you go out there and how do you start that process? How do you get email addresses and mobile phone numbers and first names and last names? And so, from that experience, we built Chalkline, which is a free-to-play predictions game provider. So we white label free-play prediction games. So for my clients in California that are, say, near San Francisco, it's all about the 49ers. It's all about the San Francisco Giants. For my clients in Tennessee, it's all about the Tennessee Vols and the Titans and the Predators. So we localize it, as much as possible. But that's really what we do, and we do that just because everybody is passionate about sports, whether you're in a casino or not. If 85 of the top 100 TV shows, in 2022 were professional sports events. And so everybody watches it and everybody cares. Everybody's got a passion point for it. So we just tap into those passion points to have them lean in. And if they're in Oklahoma, hey, just predict, whether or not the Cowboys are going to win the next game.
All right. Well, we're going to jump around a little bit. So tell us how you went from West Point to Africa starting a sports book.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So
that's probably a long story, but you can try and give us the abbreviated version.
There is. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So I mean, I certainly have an adventurous, soul, and so I was in the military for 5 years after I graduated from West Point. I was an engineer, and I was stationed in Texas. I was stationed in Georgia, and I was stationed in Bosnia for a little bit as well. Just when I got out of the Army, I wanted to go do something a little different. So I went to get my MBA in Johannesburg. And so I went down there, and while I was getting my MBA in Johannesburg, and I had no idea what I was going to do after my MBA, Sepp Blatter from FIFA made the announcement that the FIFA 2010 World Cup was going to be hosted in South Africa. So this was in 2003. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the best opportunity ever. I grew up playing soccer. And so I stuck around, got a gig at a sports marketing company called Octagon, and worked on the sports marketing side of the world for a little bit, helping big businesses and some of the major sponsors leverage the 2010 World Cup. And then, where sports betting is legal, sports marketers are just marrying up teams and leagues with bookmakers. And so I learned that at pretty quickly in that space.
How was Johannesburg? You don't hear the best things generally about Johannesburg. I've been to Cape Town and nobody was recommending I spend any time in Johannesburg.
It's Yeah, I mean the crime rate's a little high, but I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, literally 5 minutes away from my house, I could go look at rhinos and giraffes, and I mean it was amazing from that perspective. Yeah, but it's got its challenges from a crime perspective.
And I had forgotten about that World Cup in 2010, but I'm remembering now. I think I have some friends that went to it.
Amazing.
But what a country to host the World Cup,
Epic.
what I kind of liken it to. I've always said that the World Cup should be in California, period, in the state of California, because
Right.
what you want is, and it's great when it's in like Germany or France, because what you want is the ability to kind of drive around and go to different games and have it all centrally located and have the
Oh
excitement
yeah.
everywhere. The worst idea ever, in my opinion, is this World Cup that's coming up in North America, where it's
I know.
Mexico,
Mexico,
Canada,
Canada.
LA, New
Yeah.
York, Chicago. It's like there's
I
no
know.
cohesiveness to it.
Oh, it was amazing. I drove from personally, I was following the United States around, and we had just gotten beat by Ghana. It went into overtime. We lost 2-1. Brutal game. Game ends at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was able to drive from that game all the way down to Bloemfontein to go watch England play Germany. I mean, all the games were like pretty accessible. No flight was longer than 2 hours. I went to 8 or 9 of the games. It was just an awesome experience. Yeah, just in general as a sports fan, and then I was a soccer fan as well.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing country. We got to Cape Town and then drove up to that
Yeah,
wine country, and you could just tell. I mean,
Stellenbosch and Franschhoek.
the
Yeah,
coastline is just, my understanding is just
yeah,
amazing the entire length
it
of the
really
country.
is. Yeah, and the wine is great up in that wine country.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
little known fact about the wine in South Africa.
did you start the sports book on your own?
So I had, there was a tech company that I was working with, and my partner and I built it from scratch, literally from scratch, and it was online only, completely legal. And then we ended up selling it to Sun International, which is one of the large casino groups there in South Africa.
Cool. And then what brought you back to the U.S.?
It was time. Yeah, it was. I'd spent 14 years in South Africa, and so it was time to come back to the U.S. And then I landed in the United States during this whole kind of DFS 2015, where you couldn't watch an NFL game without getting bombarded with DFS advertising. I'm living in Kentucky right now, and it's the same. I mean, sports betting is about to go live here, mobile, in 7 days, and you just get hammered with advertising. But I landed in 2015. And it felt as though sports betting was probably going to turn. And so we started Chalkline. When I originally returned, I worked in the horse racing business, ran an online ADW, and then started Chalkline in 2017 with my brother.
And was Chalkline always have the same purpose from the beginning? You guys knew where you're going to be, or was that kind of a path?
Customer acquisition, it's the hardest. It's if you've ever taken bets, if you've ever run a book, if you've ever run an online horse racing business, it's customer acquisition is the single hardest thing. And so we just thought, but rather be in the picks and shovels business and industry than necessarily taking the bets. That could get complicated. Every state's got their own regulations and those types of things. But
so, and then how did you hit on the idea? How did you hit on the idea of this being a good way of acquiring customers?
Just the lack of education, Jim. I mean, the people just didn't understand. Like, if you had been to Vegas and you sat in the Superbook or whatever, you mildly understood what -110 meant or what an over or under was. But the average American had no idea. And so, educating everybody about those types of terminology and acclimating them to the money line, and doing it on a free method. I mean, this is what the casinos do. They teach you how to play craps. If you don't know how to play, show up to the craps table at 4 o'clock, and we're going to teach you exactly how to play craps. If you don't know how to play blackjack, show up at 3 o'clock. We'll teach you how to play blackjack. And so the casinos have been doing this for a long time. We just figured that we would do it on mobile phones and around sports betting.
Right. So you try in these free to play games, sports betting games, you try to replicate what it feels like when you're actually betting on games?
We do. So, the same game parlay, we have lots of same game parlays. There's a Thursday night game tonight between the Giants and the 49ers. And it's really just about that game, what's the money line, who's going to win, what's the point spread going to be, plus or minus 10.5 points, is quarterback A going to throw for over under 235 and a half yards. So we use all of the data from approved and accredited data providers, and we just slide that in and make it a really easy game. Usually it takes 30 seconds for people to play our games, and in return for free credit at a slot or free slot credits at a casino, or maybe an Amazon gift card, they give us first name, last name, email address, what state they live in.
Mm-hmm.
Valuable information.
So, and what's kind of the secret sauce for you guys? What is the thing that you're doing for these books that they can't do or don't want to do themselves?
We solely focus at the very top of the funnel. So there, once you get a book up and running, you're worried about your odds. I don't know if you heard recently about one of the sports books that left markets open and all these bettors were betting on these markets that had already, taken place. I mean, there's so many things that you're juggling as an operator, whereas, Chalkline is literally just helping out all the, all the entire industry on very top of the funnel, just getting people acclimated to placing a bet eventually and helping them through that educational process.
Mm-hmm. But is the main thing that you're providing to the book the actual bets themselves?
Yeah, so it's simulated. We do have a process where we can integrate into the actual technology of the sports book so that they can play our free-to-play game. Click a button, would you like to bet on this? And then it takes them into that sports book. If they're signed up and they've got money in their, in their account, then they can place those wagers. So we do make that transition as seamless as possible.
But as far as creating the actual free-to-play bets, like you just mentioned, a 3 in-game parlay, essentially, you guys are putting that together.
100%, and it's all automated. So I mean, the big thing for us is just like our team is not big. We're just a little over. We're 11 people right now, but yeah, it's completely fully automated so that we can create these games for our clients pretty quickly. So we've got over 35 different clients.
35 clients. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And you're saying, did I hear you say that some of them are land-based?
Oh yeah. So work with a lot of land-based casinos. So what the land-based casinos do is they'll offer like a football pick'em, say for instance. They'll have kiosks. They'll have people that are following them on social media or whatever. They'll give them a URL link. Hey, play our football pick'em, and stand a chance to win either slot credits or 125. Agua Caliente right now in California is offering $125,000 if you get all the picks right. So there's a lot of ways that we work with the land-based casinos just to help them through the process and provide another form of entertainment. All the games are on in all the casinos across the United States. So Why not just get everybody to pull their mobile phone out, scan a QR code, and just predict what's going to happen for a chance to win some good prizes.
Yeah, I seem to have a faint memory of back in the day, the sports book having these paper parlay cards and having one that was a free to play one where you got, if you went 10 out of 10,
Correct.
you might win $100 or something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And now it's just, people can do it. The transition, and really we're working with a lot of loyalty programs, to be perfectly honest with you, where the loyalty teams and the loyalty program itself is really kind of confined to the 4 walls of the casino, whereas if you can get people to engage with your brand outside of the 4 walls of that casino, great. What a great way to do it. What a better way to do it than through sports, and doing it all through that through their mobile apps or through their social media. So it's the same concept, just on mobile phones.
All right, well, let's take our break, and after the break, we'll get into the legal and regulatory side of this, which I think could be a little bit interesting. There's a lot going on out there on free-to-play right now. We are talking to Dan Kustelski, the co-founder with his brother, and CEO of Chalkline Sports. We'll be back right after this break.
We give game day a whole new meaning.
I mean, yeah, let's talk about today where I'm gonna go
Yo, roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to Sirius XM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What does it mean to be a leader?
It's taking my first solo flight.
At the University of North Dakota, we lead our own way.
Welcome back, everybody, to Double Down with Breslo. We are talking to co-founder and CEO Dan Kustelski of Chalkline Sports. Before we get into the legal and regulatory, I just want to be clear as far as exactly what you guys provide to your clients. Are you providing anything other than basically the bets, the free bets?
Yeah, we provide a marketing services as well. So it's an entire platform that our clients license from us. We'll provide all of these free play games, but then also, with that is, a little bit about prize management. We prized over 25,000 people last year. That can get onerous for a casino. We do a lot of digital marketing as well. So we send out, millions and millions of emails in a given month with really
That's what
high
I was
open
curious
rates and
about. So
click-through
you're
rates.
doing the digital marketing side with it.
I sure am. Yes.
And you're
That's
handling
a critical component to it, Jim.
And you're handling prize payouts.
We are. Yes. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So our average listener out there who is playing sports, they've probably run across your promotions while scanning the internet, correct?
Little doubt in my mind. That's exactly right. So
where most likely would they have seen run across you?
So we also work with the affiliates. And so right now we're running a big competition for